Hey, what's going on, guys? So I made a video the other day about getting reviews and feedback, and I said I would elaborate on my Facebook group why it was called FBA Seasons, because it's sort of an odd name, the name of a Facebook group regarding Amazon. So why did I call it FBA Seasons? And the reason you'll find, uh, so this is inside the group. This is the description of the group. So I'll read it to you, and then I'll elaborate on the story. So I'll start on this bit here. So it says it's a long story, so I'll wrap it up in a short sentence. It all started when I was walking my son to nursery. We're just coming out of the summer. This was, some time ago, and the leaves are starting to turn red. So my 3-year-old son looks at me and says, "Daddy, why are the leaves no longer green?" So I started telling him about the seasons. In that moment, when I was telling him about the season, I realized how precious that moment was. How talking about the season to my son was so special to me for so many reasons, and how akin seasons are, how synonymous they are to being in business. So the first reason I called this group FBA Seasons is because that moment would never have happened had I not started my own Amazon journey. Because before, I drop my kid off at nursery every day now. That wasn't a possibility when I was working my 9 to 5, because my 9 to 5 was actually 5 a.m. in the morning is when I was starting work. So I was out of the house by the time my son would start nursery. So just starting my Amazon business and working from home rather than working for somebody else has allowed me the chance to the freedom, the time freedom that everybody's after, to have that moment with my son, to be able to walk him to nursery. That was reason number one, was that starting my own business has allowed me to have these moments with my son that wouldn't have been possible had I been working my 9 to 5 job. Reason number two, as I mentioned, seasons to me are so into business in that they're wild. Sometimes they're unpredictable, but for the most part, when you get your head around it, they become quite predictable, and that's how business is. Start to see trends when you're new at it, you don't follow them as well. But when you become more seasoned, you start to be able to predict trends in the market considerably better than you would before you got in, or when you were just starting your business. So it says here, seasons are ever changing yet predictable. And predictable in the sense that every year we have summer and winter, and that's akin to business. Every year we have Q1 to Q4. So comparatively, I would say Q4 is like summer because it's like the height, it's like the peak. Everyone's out doing things. And then you have winter, which is like Q1, right? I'm not talking about the same time period, because obviously Q4 is when winter is. But Q4 is obviously the busiest, so I compare that to summer because that's when everybody's out doing things. But after that, you have the winter, right, when everything's sort of slowed down. But the predictability in that is that after winter comes summer again. Obviously not straight away, but after we have that high, you have that low, and then you have the high again. And that's sort of what being an entrepreneur is all about. It's about experiencing the high, going through the low, and knowing that you're going to make it back up to the top again. Because when times get tough, being an entrepreneur is all about, let me try and quote this right. Russell Brunson quoted this, and I thought it was just a beautiful quote. Being an entrepreneur isn't about having the resources, it's about being resourceful with what you've got. So even when you're in the low periods, being a true entrepreneur is figuring out how to keep business going while you're in the low periods, going through Q1 and Q2. And that was, to me, that was in that moment when I was talking to my son about the leaves turning red, that was akin to business and to the seasons, how everything changes but it comes back. Being an entrepreneur is just like that. You go through the highs, you experience some lows. People say to me, I've heard people say Amazon is like a sprint, you know, in the sense that you need to do all this work up front and then you let it run on autopilot. So you sprint for the first bit and then you just sort of pace yourself, and you know that's not right at all. And then I hear other people saying, well, no, actually, Amazon's like a marathon. And I'm like, now you're starting to get it. You know, it's a bit like a marathon, but actually, it's like a marathon with hurdles every 10 yards. And every 10 yards, you can either meet the hurdle and crash into it, and your business will fail. Or you can meet the hurdle and whine about it and not do anything about it, and your business will fail. Or you can meet the hurdle and you can jump over the hurdle and you can keep going, because eventually those hurdles will get further between. So at the start of business, you'll run into more and more hurdles. At the end of your business, or when you're more seasoned at business, perhaps they won't be further apart because you'll always run into problems, but you'll know how to deal with them. You'll have that mindset of dealing with these problems in a manner in which you can still grow as a business and as an individual. So I just wanted to make this video quickly explaining, because I know FBA Seasons is sort of an odd name, but for me it's obviously very personal. For me, it's, you know, part of my journey into not only creating and continuing my Amazon business, but journeying or documenting my journey into fatherhood. And you know, I'm 3 years into fatherhood now, and it's been amazing. And I, you know, working through Amazon has just allowed me to really see my kid flourish in ways that I wouldn't have been able to if I were working my 9 to 5. And I only started Amazon this year, and I'm already at home making money from home. Not just making money, but I'm, because you know, all these people post in these Facebook groups like, hey, look at my sales for this month, and it's like, it looks good, but like, how much profit are you making? Because I don't care about, you know, if I make 20 grand in a month, I'm like, okay, cool, but I don't show anybody that, because what lies beneath that 20 grand is like 6 grand profit, and I can make that working my 9 to 5 job, so I'm not going to go showing off that. And another thing I wanted to mention while I'm here is that people ask me quite a lot, because I'm helping quite a few people out at the moment. People ask me, you're doing so well on Amazon, why don't you post your results? I'm of the mindset that social proof shouldn't be required from someone. Like, if you can, like, you are free to listen to my information or not. Like, you can click off this video or you can watch it to the end. It's up to you to act on that. And if you act on the information I give you and you see results, that should be the social proof you need. Like, I'm of a generation where I feel like it's like, when I grew up, I would never ask my mum and dad how much money they made because it was rude. And I feel the same way now. I don't ask people how much money they make on Amazon. And I understand people are going to ask me now that I'm putting myself in the public eye and I'm coming out on YouTube and I'm saying all these things and I'm making money and I'm making a living from home. But I will probably never post my results in public, just out of respect for my family, because that's a value that I hold within my heart, and for my family, I don't feel like it's right to sort of showboat about my income, because you know, I'm raising a 3-year-old son, and I have a baby on the way as well, and I don't want them to grow up either feeling entitled and like we have all this money and we own the world, and I don't want them to grow up and to show their friends and say, hey, look how much money we have, because when I was growing up, we didn't have money. My folks divorced when I was in my first year at high school, and money was really tight all the time. Like, buying a pack of ham would like put my mum out of money. So it was like, we could have a pack of ham, but we couldn't afford the bread. Like, I never had a sandwich to go to school with. And I'm trying my hardest for my kids never to have to experience that, because it was horrible. You know, I remember this one time I was really getting into the music scene. I grew my hair long. I actually grew my hair long because I couldn't afford a haircut. That's how poor we were. And I started listening to, you know, like Metallica and Iron Maiden. And I really wanted to learn the guitar, but I couldn't afford music lessons, nor could I afford a guitar. And I got £1 lunch money every day for school. So a friend of mine said, if you give me that £1 every day for the next 75 days, I'll give you my guitar, because you would have paid me £75. So I was like, okay, cool. So for the next 3 months or whatever it was at school, I gave him 100% of my lunch money. I literally didn't eat for. I would wake up. I would probably have dinner, and that was it. For 3 months solid, I lost a lot of weight, but it was in pursuit of something that I thought was worth that investment. He ended up being a bit of a douche about it. He didn't give me the guitar in the end, but that mentality, I've always had that. And if you the guys don't have that, I encourage you to look for that mentality. I was literally willing to starve myself to pay for something that I really wanted. I eventually did get a guitar, and music for me was such an outlet. I actually made like I made a heavy metal band, which is on YouTube. So if any of you guys are interested, I'll link it. It's pretty terrible. We were like 19 years old when we ended up making a few songs. But music for me was such an outlet because it was just symbolic of the struggle that I'd gone through and giving this guy all of my money in hopes of getting a guitar back. And then one day I eventually got a guitar, and it was like the best thing in the world. But I've rambled long enough, as always. But I encourage you guys to seek that mentality. To be successful, sometimes you have to be willing to give up everything around you. Me and my wife have never had so many arguments since I got into FBA. She's like, "How much are you spending on PPC a day?" That was a terrible impression. Do that again. So my wife's like, "Oh dear." So my wife and I have never argued as much as when I started my journey into FBA. You know, because I was spending all my time over at the PC. I was spending more money on PPC than I was on rent. And it was like, when I first started FBA, it was like we were struggling to pay rent. And then I was like, sorry, yeah, I kind of spent all that money on PPC. And she was like, what do you mean spending on PPC? Like, what even is PPC? You know, we argued a lot about my involvement in the business. But it's turned out to be really really good and successful. And I have because before I went into FBA, I went to my university and I took a business course. And as part of that business course, they have like, I forget the word, like I forget the word. You know, like the best student in the class, and you tell your story at the end of the year. You stand up at graduation. I'm that dude. They picked me. I have a presentation on the 24th of October at the university to sort of document my my business, my journey into Amazon. So that I'm gonna be uploading that onto my channel. That. Hopefully that will give you guys motivation, because you'll see where I came from, the background I came from, and where I'm at now in my life, and it was entirely because of Amazon. I have 3 sources of income at the moment. Amazon FBA is one of them, but the others are because of my Amazon business, that I was able to have the confidence to branch out into these other areas that I otherwise wouldn't have gone near. So I really have rambled long enough. I'll leave it at that. Please join the Facebook group. It's brand new. Anybody is welcome. Beginners, intermediate, experts, you're all welcome. I want everybody to come in and share their stories. I want to motivate as many people as possible. Hopefully my video that's coming out from the university soon will motivate you guys. Amazon has changed my life completely, and I know it will change yours too. So like, share, subscribe, all of that nonsense. Join the Facebook group. That's the most important thing. Join the Facebook group, because then you can socialize with myself and with other sellers. So it's got very, very few members in at the moment, 2 to be precise. But like I said, it's brand new. I created it on the 10th, you can see there, but I've only been active in it like the last 2 days. So like, share, subscribe, join the Facebook group, and come and have a chat with me on Facebook. If you're struggling with any areas in your Amazon business, give me a private message and I'll do my best to help you out. I've been helping out a load of people and I've been getting good results. I'm not after your money, I just want to see you guys flourish. So I will leave it at that, and I'll see you guys in the next video.